Welcome to Amplify. I'm your host, Candice Dormon. On this show, we shine a light on people making moves, grinding, hustling, and being excellent because it's 2020 and there are still a lot of firsts and onlys across almost every industry. So let's dig in. As a quintessential entrepreneur, astute marketer, and brand strategist, my guest today has been in marketing for over 15 years, working in various marketing capacities for nonprofits, small businesses, and Fortune 500 companies. She has her master's in integrated marketing communications from West Virginia University, is certified in media management through New York University, and has a degree in political science from Tufts University. She also owns the marketing consultancy Brazen Marketer. Vanessa, welcome to Amplify. Vanessa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Candice? Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad to get this chance to talk to you. It's really been a long time coming. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
So let's just dive right in because I have been wanting to talk to you for such a long time. I've been admiring your work from afar, and I'm just really excited to bring you on because right now, there is a lot of attention on small businesses, specifically because of the pandemic, right? Like everything has changed for everyone, and small business in particular are in a very testy situation, right? Because as a small business, you are already working probably on thin margins, and then having to change your whole business plan in an overnight has unfortunately shuttered a bunch of places. So I'm really interested in ways to share with people who might be going through that, different tips and ideas of how to make sure that their businesses continue to thrive during this transition. And of course, some are doing it really, really well and it was super easy, and others might be struggling. So I think it's really, really relevant right now. So thanks again so much for coming on.
Of course, and I definitely agree.
So why don't we just jump right in? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Brazen Marketing?
So it's Brazen Marketer.
I'm sorry, Brazen Marketer. And see, as a marketer, you were like, let's get it right. Okay, let's do it. And I apologize. Brazen Marketer.
Brazen Marketer, and it is a marketing consultancy I started in 2018 after leaving my 9-to-5 full-time job. I had to peace out. And I help professional service providers, essentially businesses who have clients, win new clients, get their brand message out there with a solid brand strategy and marketing execution, such as website designs, content, email marketing, and social media. And it's all about creating that brand awareness, but doing it strategically and in the right way.
That's so important. And the strategic part, I think we'll come back to it several times tonight, because sometimes as a small business owner myself, I know that we spend a lot of time doing the thing, whatever the thing is, the service, the widget, right? The cream, the whatever it is, we spend all the time making the thing. And then we're like, here is my thing, right? And then we're waiting for the doorbell to ring, or we're waiting for the email to come in or something to happen. And if you don't have that marketing strategy in place, you will just be waiting and waiting and waiting. So
I agree. I actually had a small business owner who reached out to me and she was like, I created a blog, but there's no traffic. And I was just like, there's more to it than that. You can't just create it and people will come. Like, it just, no one knows who you are. And when you're first starting out, no one cares. That's the
exactly.
But
we're all right. Go ahead. When people care.
I said, well, when people do care is when they actually will make the effort to, come to you, bring you traffic, but they have to know about you first.
Absolutely. I think we all believed the the moniker, if you build it, they will come, right? But in a world where there's so much competition, there's so many widgets, our attention spans are so short. They have so many places to go to, right? You just have to be able to grab them, or else you miss your shot. And I don't say that as a way, like, one of the things I try to remind myself all the time is that if there can be a nail salon within, 4 steps of the next one, or a CVS every 3 blocks, or a Chinese food restaurant every 3 blocks, like, there's enough space for everyone. You just have to find a way to stand out.
Of course. And like I say, some individuals, I'm like, like you just said, there's so many different stores, and people talk about like, oh, but I need to stand out. Like, they're the point of like standing out in terms of like how you deliver your service. But it's very hard to have that perspective. And I tell people not to give up if they see other people have similar things, and then they feel like they can't fit in the market too. But then I use that reference. I'm like, but you see outside, there's like multiple, car shops, there's multiple restaurants, and yet everyone's able to eat. So,
right. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Everybody's got to eat, right? I like that. I like that a lot. So tell me, why did you pick the name Brazen Marketer?
Actually, Brazen Marketer started out as a blog in 2007. And at the time, I was working in the nonprofit sector, and I was doing fundraising, development, communications. But in 2007, within the nonprofit sector, no one looked at fundraising development as marketing. And so, but during the time, that's how I saw it personally. So every time I would say, I would get all this blowback. No, it's not the same. It's marketing separate from fundraising. So I just started reading books on it. And I actually stumbled upon a book called Marketing Management by Kotler and Keller. And I remember I was like in a few pages in, it was just like, if you're doing nonprofit marketing, then it's a form of what's intangible marketing. And so I was just like, hold up. See, I'm right, guys. I'm right. But still, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So I was like, I'm going to be bold enough, which that's what brazen means. It means bold, to actually speak on this from the perspective of nonprofit marketing. And I just ran with it. And then over time, I created a lot of blog posts. Many of them I took down because I plan on like revamping them and things like that. But it stuck with me. And when I decided to go independent and go venture on my own and create a business, I said, might as well turn this name into the business name, since I've had it for such a long time. But yeah, that's what it means.
That makes total sense. And you have to be brazen, right? When you have an idea that goes against the grain, especially in the corporate world, or even in the nonprofit world. But when you have an idea and you have a young, fresh face, and people make assumptions about how much you may or may not know, you really do have to be brazen, tenacious, all of the things in order to get it out there. So I'm really proud of you for sticking to it and really pushing through there.
Yeah, I had to. And definitely when you mentioned about like being new, like many of the environments I was in, I was the youngest person there. So they were definitely like, oh, she doesn't know that much. She can't know that much about it. But they didn't know in the back end of everything. I was studying every single day. Like I became obsessed with marketing. I still am, where people
you have to be.
You have to be. And I would literally be on the train reading marketing textbooks, but not even be in school at the time. And people walk up to me like, what class are you taking? I'm just like, none. This is literally my leisurely read on the train. They're like, nah, sis, this is not leisurely read. I was like, yes, it is. Let me get back to my textbook.
Right. You're interrupting.
Now she have questions. But yeah.
So we were talking about strategy earlier, and can you expand on that a little bit more? Why is it that people have to be very strategic about their marketing plan? I guess we could start with, why do people need a marketing plan, and then why should it be very strategic?
I would definitely say that why people need a marketing plan is a very big question. Like, it's a very, very loaded question. In essence, your marketing plan and why you would need one is because it gives a level of clarity to how you plan on promoting your business. But within your marketing plan, which I think some people skip, or either they don't realize it needs to be in there, is your brand strategy. And the brand strategy is the personality that you plan on giving your brand. And the thing is, it can oftentimes it matches your own personality. It's like you went into the business because that was it somehow. You didn't realize it, but it fit your personality to be in that realm of business. But sometimes it doesn't. So it's like doing the research to be clear about that. And so going into that, the research component is super important. So why you should also have a marketing plan. In the marketing plan, there's market research, and it pretty much outlines who are you going to target. And many people don't think about that from a strategic perspective, in terms of they go, okay, I need to target demographically an audience, but then they don't delve into the wants, the needs, the desires, the fears, the attitudes, the values of those individuals. And that's super important. And I think where the disconnect happens is that people think that the marketing plan is just a document, when you should, because they don't know how to use the marketing plan strategically to integrate it into their communications, because all of the marketing plan is to guide communications. It builds clarity of how you communicate with your audience. And so many people don't think about that. And even when I created my business, I used to use it at other organizations, but when I had to do it for myself, it did become a challenge. But I had to realize that what you have to do is take your own story and almost like put it up against your brand strategy and go, where's the overlap and how can I blend these two together in order to speak to my audience with the personality that's most fitting, but also tell my story at the same time. So that's how, on a grand scheme of how it's strategic, but it also should set the stage for like what a company's mission, the vision, mission, and values are, which some companies feel like they have it, and some do, and some don't, because some make it so personal to themselves that they don't think about like the actual question behind each one of them, which is like, where is your business going? And then how do you plan to get there? And then what values do you bring to the table? Like, what is it that that relates to the target audience? So what is it like, if it's a target audience, like I value treating my clients X, Y, Z, and the other, but it has to be about them and not about the client and not about oneself. And oftentimes a lot of companies make it about themselves instead of about the actual person. And that's another story together. But that's where it is. And like, and there's just layers to it. Like it includes like, how do you actually position your brand? So you have to understand like who your competitors are. But the thing about that is many people get hooked up or get caught up on would be that you have to look at your competitors from the lens of like, who do I want to be like? But really, that's not how you should look at it. They should be aspirational, yes. And some people shoot too high. And I always tell people go like a couple of steps above you. And actually look at some of the people a little bit below you, because they can become competitors. And narrow it down.
If you slack off.
Yeah, if you slack off, they will take your place. And it's not even taking your place. It's just that you want to look at what they're doing well and what they're not doing well with regards to their messaging and their marketing, to see where you can improve. It's an improvement strategy. So people look at it like, okay, I know who my competitors are, but then they don't dig into like, okay, let me really look at what are they doing, and essentially spying on their competitors, like going into their comments on YouTube channels and stuff like that, and seeing like what are people actually saying, and why are they not happy, and what questions are they not answering, and being that person, step in and do it. And that's why some people say like, oh, go in the comments and start answering their comments, and to fill in the gaps. You'll show that you actually have that capacity to help them. And so like that's super important. And it's in after you create or you figure out like those key components at the beginning of your plan, that it turns into a strategy. So there's like 3 components like going on inside of a marketing plan. You have your brand strategy, you have your marketing strategy, and then you have like the execution of it. So that's what you come out of, is the execution piece. And when you go to execute, you're executing against your plan. And then you have like about 20 different ways you can actually do it. So, and like I tell people, like, you gotta test and try. People are scared to do that because it costs money.
Yeah, of course.
But you gotta like figure out like what's like the low cost way of testing and trying these things out, so that you don't
you just shoot some cannons first.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And then lastly, it includes your budget. And that's a conversation. Girl. Because marketing isn't cheap. It can be ish. It depends how you look at it. Either you invest in marketing or you don't invest in marketing. And what makes me sad is that some people are getting duped out here because they're going for like the cheapest option, not realizing that it's going to cost them in a long run when their marketing isn't consistent and it isn't, it doesn't have a consistency across all of their channels, because they're focusing on the price point rather than the total outcome of how their marketing has to actually compound over time to make a presence. But like I say, some of the clients I've had, I was like, let me know what your budget is. Some people are so afraid to share their budget. And I guess because they're afraid of getting scammed in some way. And they're very protective of it. But marketing and how it works is like, it's like you go in the car dealership. Either you have money for a hoop day or you have money for a because each car will run, but the way they look, the way they feel on a road may be a little different. Will be very different. But there is a market out there for various price points. But it all depends on like what level of marketing do you really want. But marketing plan is expansive. Like it covers all of those things, or all of those things should be in one. And then you have to use it actively, especially your brand strategy.
I really love that. You just dropped a ton of gems in there. I'm obsessed with all of it. So if we could go back a little bit to, I think the most important thing that I heard you say is that you have to take time to think about your company and your thing, right? Your service, your widget, your whatever. You have to step away from the running of the business and the making of the thing to really think about who you want your business to be. Yeah. And I think that, like you said, a lot of times the maker in us, the creative in us, are just focused on what the outcome is. And we're just hoping that anybody will want it. And that the gold and the goal is to actually really identify the right people to put in front of your product, whatever that product is, so that you marry this thing that you've put all of your heart and soul into with people who actually can see it, appreciate it, love it, and like know it for what it's worth. Then you don't have to backpedal with pricing, right? Yeah. if you get the right people in front of your thing that know the cost. I have a friend who makes jewelry, and when I listen to her talk about jewelry, I'm just like, this is incredible. About rutilated. I don't even know what a rutilated is. Okay. Every gemstone, every quartz, this and or amaradite, that, like all of these things. And we talked a lot about the fact that the people who know what those stones are will know what they're worth. Yeah. And so we shouldn't waste any time putting these in front of people like me who shop at, in the jewelry section of the clothing store. It's like they said this should go together. Exactly.
It was next to it.
And I believe them. It was next to it. Which is the marketing strategy.
It is.
Right?
All in itself is a marketing strategy.
is one of those 20 things that you mentioned, that you were alluding to. So I think that piece there about making sure that you take the time to step away from the making of your thing and really identify who your thing is and who you are in relation to it. I think that that's beautiful.
People connect with people, you know? And that's why it's important to humanize your brand, just like if it were a person.
That's good.
Because you want, like I say to people sometimes, I'm like, think of it like dating. Like you go on a date with someone, and let's say you have your personality is one way, and either they have similar personality or they don't. And more likely, if they're the polar opposite of you, you're not going to go on a second date with them. And that's the same thing with
it's not going to work out.
It's not going to work out. And so same thing with your brand. If you there's brand archetypes. So there's 12 of them. And like, you can be a lover archetype. You can be an innocent archetype. You could be an outlaw, all of these things. But let's say you have outlaw brand, which is almost like a Harley Davidson. So if you throw like someone who's really like innocent and everything like that, and you throw next to someone who on the outset, maybe he is, you know, on a deeper level can connect, but on the outset, looking at the two of them, they don't pair up. And you're like, okay, I got this rugged biker dude, and I have this sweet, innocent young little lady, soupy, and super like, you know, everything has to be, you know, pristine. And he's like, no, like sneezing and whatnot and coughing with everything. He doesn't, he's like, I don't care. There's no rules here. Those two people on the outset, just like when you walk down the street and you see somebody you like, those two people are not going to be like, ooh, I like this one over here. As much as if there was a pairing. So I say it's about being like an A-alike in your business, that your brand has to be an A-alike to who you want it to attract. So if I'm like, for me, I'm a sage archetype, and I attract people who tend to also desire or want knowledge about things and want the truth about things. And so those type of people come to me because that's what I put out. And the more I put out to people as a sage, the more people come to me that are in the similar fields where they also provide people with information and truth and knowledge to move them forward. So
that's incredible. That's a really powerful image, right? And an idea that you can determine the kind of business that comes to you, right? You can, by being very clear about who you are and about the who of your business, you can will the right people to come to you. Yeah. And I mean, I've never heard it put so clearly. And that's incredible. That's really incredible. Because as I said earlier, I think a lot of people, probably myself included, or probably still, but definitely early on, you just hope anybody, right? And I think that's where like all the additional sales come in, and all the gimmicks, and all of the like, today you're an outlaw, tomorrow you're a healer, the next day, you know, like you see something, you're like, oh, right, that looks really cool. Maybe I can do that for my brand, you know? And that's when you end up with these ridiculous
it creates
confrontational
what happens
ideas.
It ends up with you end up with mixed messages. So for example, they always say like the most long-standing brands are the ones who never waver from their brand archetype, or who the personality of their brand. And a great example of that is Disney. Disney has been a magical brand since the beginning of time. I can't remember. Ever wavered from being like this magical brand. Coca-Cola, never wavered from this whole, also as a magical brand, but also focused on happiness. They never waver from it. So, and Harley Davidson, even, they don't waver. Harley Davidson has been Harley Davidson, very rugged. They haven't changed up their color scheme. They haven't changed the artwork. It doesn't matter what's going on. They are still consistent. And that's because, to a large extent, where people miss about marketing is that marketing is actually meant to get rid of people that don't belong. It's not meant to draw. It's not, the purpose of it isn't to bring everybody in. It's to exclude. So,
oh my, wow. Speak on that. Speak on that. Cause I haven't read any marketing books. Okay. I'm not claiming to be a marketer, but I have never heard sort of like business positioning as basically getting rid of the riffraff. I mean, I feel like that's what you just said.
That's exactly what I just said. It is meant to, think about your Louis Vuitton brand. You're exclusive. It's, even though the highest level brands to lower level brands is exclusive. Like Coca-Cola will never change their formula. Why? Because there's a certain population of the world that are consistently wanting that same exact thing. When they changed over to clear, when was it Clear Pepsi? Clear Pepsi did that. Pepsi, Clear Pepsi. And when they did that, they got such backlash.
Because we're not Sprite.
Because they're not Sprite. And
we're a Coca-Cola family.
What was the issue? It was they were trying to appeal to more people. That's not what the consumers wanted. They're like, you're appealing to us and only us. So stick with it. So, and that's the thing, like you, and that's where people talk about niching, and trying to figure that out is very interesting because there's different ways to niche. You can niche on your audience, you can niche on your offering, you can niche on your service. So there's different niches, but they're all meant to be exclusionary of certain individuals. So even though we, especially when you first start out as a business, you want to appeal to a massive amount of people because you want the business
numbers. You want numbers.
You need money to come in. You want numbers. And actually in the beginning, I say that's like a testing time as well. Like you don't want to be too exclusionary because you do want to use numbers and use data to see like where people are really coming from and who actually is being pulled into your brand. Because what you put out, your audience dictates what's really happening when it, because the brand is in their head. So since you can't read their mind, you have to test for a while. And I say, like, for small businesses, like, test for a year to 2 years, because people say, oh, niche immediately. And I would disagree with that. I would say either, if you don't, it depends on what audience you have, like what you're selling, because some things niche themselves down by themselves. Like if you have a lotion brand and it's very organic and by nature, it has become an innocent archetype, an innocent brand archetype by nature. That's Dove, that's your Aveeno. Like that's what direction they're in. And so anyone who doesn't want something that's super organic and good for you, they're not going to look your way. So you've excluded them.
Right. I mean, if you want chemicals, you better get out of here.
You got to go over there. But if you want your skin to look radiant but be healthy, then this is people. Come on, guys. You guys. The rest of you go over there. But I need you guys to come this way.
Exactly.
And so that's the gist of it. Yeah, when it comes to that. So yeah, it's very exclusionary.
I just can't. That feels like it just like got me. Like when you get this, it's an aha moment. It's a light bulb moment. It's a like, turn around, sister. Like that's not like you've been running the wrong way the whole time. But this idea that you're presenting of honing in on who you want and getting rid of who you don't want, I think makes all the difference and probably is what you're working towards, right? Yeah. As opposed to just like pure numbers of trying to get as many people. What you should be working towards is, how do I zero in very astutely and very precisely on the exact customers that are going to be happy with what I've got. So that's,
I want them to be happy, because at the end of the day, like, it's that word of mouth marketing that you really want. And if you don't believe in your brand and they don't stand by it and they're not advocates for it, then you lose that. But the thing is, people tell people trust people with regards to references, referrals. Even when it comes to Amazon, we look at all the reviews first before we buy that product.
7 reviews? We can't do that.
We can't do that.
7,000 reviews? Yes, there we go.
And 4.5 stars? Kudos. Let's buy.
Kudos.
But that's the thing. And we trust people with regards to that. So like one person speaking to another person, it multiplies over time if it's someone who's super passionate about your brand. So that's who you're trying to attract. You're trying to attract that person that's going to go, you know what? I'm going to tell all my friends and I'm going to buy it for you.
Right.
And then they're going to buy it for their people. And that's what you want, that multiplying effect that's going on in the background of your business that you don't have a clue is going on. But it's
exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, you gave a lot of really good tips on things that people can do, right? Humanize your brand, identify you use a marketing term, your archetype, identify your archetype, right? And do those things. How does one know when they need one, right? We know that everybody needs marketing, right? But how does a small business realize when they need help?
You mean for help from a marketing professional or just
maybe help from a marketing professional or some research time, or like how do you? I mean, I don't want it to sound super silly, right? You know you're not doing well if you're not selling, right? If people aren't buying. But sometimes even when people aren't buying, people are so focused and committed to what they're doing. If I just make the product better, if I just offer another option, if I just make another size, if I put it in a different color, if I give a sale, right? That they think that will make the difference. How can someone know what are the cues to look for to know that you might need to focus more on marketing and less on changing your actual product?
I would say that's a combination of things. Like if it's like, let's say a product, and a great way to figure that out would honestly be to ask your audience or ask audiences that would be most likely to use your product. So that's part of that market research. And market research can happen not just in your marketing plan, but it actually should happen throughout your entire life of your business. Like it should be like a continual effort to do some market research. Like some people do it monthly, some people will do it quarterly, some people do it yearly. Like if you want to do like something called a brand awareness study, it usually happens biannually. But you need to ask your audience about these, like if you have these questions, to ask them, like you want to ask them about your product. You want to ask them, how are they finding out about your product? If you don't have like a customer base yet or a client base yet, then people that would actually partake of either your service or your product, ask them like, how do they find out about the different products and services that you offer? All of those things, because you want to build up the data to support whether or not it's your product or is it your marketing. Because if you ask people, like if you have a product, let's say, and you ask people like, oh, and they've used it, and you ask them how the product, and everybody's raving about it, but then you're still not getting sales, then you got to look at your marketing then. Like, are you getting enough traction out there? The real thing is that most companies are like, if you're small, you're definitely more than likely not doing all of the marketing efforts you could possibly be doing to get out there. And so just running a small business, you realize that you kind of need help all the time. Like there's no indicator particularly that's like, I need help. You just know that you just need help, because there will never be a time where I've only met one person in my life who said he didn't need any marketing because he was good. And he had enough clients. And he had enough clients. He had enough money. I was like, enough money?
What is that?
Like, what is that? What are you talking about? But other than that, like people, and on top of it, because marketing constantly evolves and constantly changes, it's like you always need help with these things. Like even me, like I'm never want to say like I don't need help. At every moment, I'm trying to figure out something new to do, not new to do, but a new approach to what I'm doing that can possibly work better than what I've already been doing. And that's because like it's such an ecosystem of marketing. Like I said, there are 20 traction channels that you can use. So I don't think like there's ever a point where a person goes, I don't need help once you really get into the deep throes of your business. Because if you have 20 channels to choose from, and at some point you're trying to use a number of them, you get inundated with the amount of work that goes behind it, the amount of work that you did would go behind it. So you have traction channels that include your social media marketing, native advertising, public relations, your email marketing, brand, business development, your networking, your speaking, like all of these things are traction channels.
All of those things.
And
okay.
So, like, as it either your need ends up being based off of like, oh, I know that I'm not getting the eyes on my product or service, and then it becomes a need of like, I need somebody to support me doing all of these things. And that's where the virtual assistants for a lot of small businesses come into play, because they can't handle, like it feels like at first like, oh, it shouldn't be that hard, until you actually have to do it in the time it takes away from you actually providing your service or working on your product or getting anything out there. So, I mean, marketing, I think it will just forever be needed if you have a business, and you always feel like you have the need for it. Especially like if you're looking at, and then it comes down to also your benchmarks. Like if you set goals, part of the marketing plan is goal setting. You have to have SMART goals and specific, measurable,
actionable,
realistic,
realistic. Yes.
So it has to be SMART. And you have to set them. And if you set your goals and you're not meeting them, that's one clear indicator like you need help. Because if you're like, okay, I'm going to reach this many people, and you never reach that goal, and it looked like it was very attainable, then you got to go back and say like, okay, let me see what's working and what's not working. But yeah, but I've not met a business yet that's like, I don't need help with this marketing. I know marketers need help with marketing. Everybody needs help. Because even if it's like advisory, it's like somebody got to step in here because this is a lot.
Yeah. It's true. The thing that comes to mind for me when you said that one person said they didn't need it, I am in the childcare business, right? And I'm in the home childcare business. You only have 6 seats, right? And so sometimes I think that childcare providers like myself can think, I don't know if you've ever met someone like this, but I have definitely thought this before. Oh, I don't want to do too much marketing because I don't want to have too many clients trying to get in here. I only have 6 spots, right? It's like, really, Candice? That is not a problem you are about to have, right? And if you do, the wait list is also a goal. You know what I mean? Yes. And so there's some businesses where I think that we are under the misinformation that we only need a handful of clients, right? And a business like mine is word of mouth, like you talked about. And so you don't want to overdo it, right? You think maybe it's not worth spending the extra money because it's just for a few clients. You don't want to have to, it's awkward to tell people no. What is the point of a long wait list? All of these things. Yeah. But then you realize that in a pandemic, right? When overnight, people are like, yo, we gonna stay home because we don't know what's going on outside in the streets, right? Yeah. And so overnight, you don't have any clients. You're gonna wish you had a long list of people who were interested in you before.
Exactly. And then it's also, and I think then it's the client side, like getting the business, but then marketing has to serve, I feel like it serves other purposes as well. Like you want to have an opportunity to, let's say, build your email list up, because let's say things like the pandemic hitting and you have a child service business, then you're able to reach out to people in different ways, because that's the other way to use marketing. It's like, okay, let me put out valuable information, keep yourself as a business on the top of mind for those individuals. When things let up, they'll come back because that's
that's
the
a good
thing.
point.
It's like, there's part of marketing that's the nurture process, where you're nurturing the clients, you're nurturing even prospects, so that you stay top of mind with them in the event that when they do need you, they'll come back and not think of someone else first. So it's like this layered approach to it. And then, like, you never know when you want to do other things that you can then use your brand for. Let's say if you want to send, like, oh, I want to then speak on things. Well, if you build up the brand presence, people over time will get to know you and then have reached out to you before, probably for speaking, and you build your brand in another way. So it's like, it gives you multiple avenues to eventually bridge out into, where some people have stepped away from their business and done something else that marketing has pulled them in the direction of, because let's say what they had to say, people wanted that more than they wanted the service. So I know people to literally shut down like the service side to just speak, to just be an educator in the space rather than doing the tactical stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like if you do your marketing right, it's almost like an exit strategy or like a redirection strategy, right? If your fingers get arthritis enough that you can't screw those jarred lids on anymore, then you need to have, a redirection or an exit strategy. So that's really good. I'm really interested. We've talked a little bit about email marketing and social media. Those things feel like everything right now, right? It's 2020, it's 2020, social media, TikTok, Instagram, like all of these things feel like the end all be all, like that was always a thing. But we talked about some of these luxury brands, some of these drugstore brands that have been around since 1922, before email was a thing, right? When they were still sending doves or whatever. I don't know why that's where my mind went, but like, they've been around for a long time and they were not using these strategies. Can you speak a little bit to perhaps, I don't want to lead the question, but to perhaps people's leaning too much towards these quote unquote newer marketing strategies, and if there are tested tried and true things that have been working all along that you want to make sure that you don't leave behind just because of the times? Yes,
most certainly, I would say, even though people don't think about it so much as marketing, but it really is networking. I feel like a lot of people started relying so much so on the social media, just to as a way to promote and to speak to people, but not with people. And then that part is where people started really missing the boat. And what I like that did happen during this time was that more people are bringing the networking online. So I do see more individuals who didn't have the opportunity, let's say, to go to the events because they didn't have the time or they had to go home and take care of children, that they have now opportunity to network with individuals and build deeper connections, even though they're not in the same location. And the thing about the networking aspect, and that goes even for like speaking, is that people, like I said, people connect with people. And when you're building up your business and you're only focusing on like posting things up and you're not talking to people, you miss out on the opportunity to build that personal connection. That's why some people will say, like, there's certain people that I follow on social media and they are certain posts they'll put up and you could tell they've just got fed up with people saying like, oh, why isn't social media working for me? And they will write long posts to say, look, you think that this is the way, but are you investing in groups? Are you investing in joining networks, associations, all these different avenues? Because those are really how you build your business. It really is. It's because the social media part, in terms of numbers, social media on average, for an average business owner to get traction on social media takes about 2 years.
Wow. That is not the TikTok story we are hearing. That is not the IG model, the Instagram model. Like, that is not the story we're hearing. We're hearing if you do you just have to do the right thing to go viral.
And that's usually for people who are in entertainment roles. So you're celebrity, you're comedian, you're doing something that's making people laugh, you tend to trend. But if you're actually doing something that's just normal, you're not going to get that traction unless you're going to turn yourself into like a jester and just shuck a job to get these people to follow you. But then it's like, will that equate to actual sales? And the tried and true that, you know, people don't really speak about, but I hear in groups, like I just joined the National Association for Women Business Owners, and like the networking part is heavy. And like even today, I spoke with the lady, the head of membership, and head of membership said, "Oh, Vanessa, you were in a meeting this other day talking about like your passion for helping people within the Black community." This other woman in a whole different other group talked about something similar. She said, "Oh, someone in that group told me that she talked about that. I found out from this person you talked about this. I'm going to introduce you to." You know, and
otherwise you couldn't have made that connection.
I would have never made that connection. But those are the type of connections that end up being made when you take the opportunity to do personal interactions with individuals, or you choose to speak to a broader audience. People just like to see people. And as one woman that was online, and she was actually, she didn't like how she looked. So she refused to even get on camera. She would speak in the dark. And people, and eventually she just showed her face, and people were like, "We love how you look regardless. Like, what is this? Just show your face.
We already love you.
We already love you. Just show your face." And it's that if people want to see you, they want to feel like they are building a bond with you that's more personal, even if it's not directly personal. So that's why there is like this big push of like, if you are going to stay on social, that it just not be post, that you actually go live, that you actually interact and things like that. And then other things that like channels that are being underutilized, which in the marketing space, we know is being underutilized. It's like considered an empty channel that people should be using, would be direct mail.
Interesting.
Because direct mail is a channel that's like, it's empty because people just decided they weren't, you know, people aren't printing, they want to pay for postage, stuff like that. But it's easier to get in front of a person if you send them mail at this point. Because nowadays, if you look at the stack of your mail, it's usually just important things. It's no longer the advertisements and stuff like that. So if you are to send something, people are actually going to look at it.
Actually and especially if you have the funds to buy a list so that you can add. I've gotten so many postcards with my name on it. And when I tell you I do a double take, like, why is my name in the woods like that? Why are the leaves spelling out my name, right? I have even put them on my bulletin board, right? They become, and then that mortgage like mortgage company is somehow in the back of my mind because they made my name look good.
Exactly.
This marketing, man.
It's marketing, but and people do tend to keep pieces of mail in their house much longer than you expect. So it's underutilized. People haven't been using, they've been using blogs sort of kind of, but that's like, that's something that's multifaceted in itself. Like blogs, you use them essentially as long form content that you can break out into small pieces of content. You can turn it into a video. You can do whatever you want with them. But those are some tried true ways that I feel like people are not using as much, would be just speaking. I think it's because a lot of people are just afraid to be present in that respect. It's scary to put yourself out there and to show vulnerability but it's how you connect with people.
It's so real. It makes you real, right? It makes you real in a time of when everybody is, hyper focused on putting forward the right face. What's the right thing to say. And then as we close, there's something that you said earlier that I just want to circle back to, and that was talking about networking. And I want to focus specifically on networking within the Black community, and in this case, the small business Black community. So there are so many of us, and we know that Black female entrepreneurs are among the fastest rising group right now, the fastest rising affinity group for small businesses. And I think that probably for too long, we've seen each other more as competitors and less as partners, right? Potential partners, business development, networking opportunities, right? Can you speak to a little bit to how important it is within the Black community, the Black business community, small business, all of it, especially right now, how important it is to be an active member and not see it as competition, but more that supporting each other actually lifts all of us.
Yes, I think that, like I said, join an organization of women business owners, and I would say that they definitely have been a great example of that. And I wish I would see more of that just in the Black community itself. It's challenging, because there are still people that see each other as competition, but I think it has to be that there are honest conversations about like true intentions, and that feeds a lot off of just if you feel, let's like if any relationship, if you feel like there's this level of integrity and honesty among the person, you really create this synergy between the two people, there's this bond that you create or connection, then you let that feed the relationship in terms of working together. Because genuinely, there's some people out that will always kind of have that, oh, I see the person as competition. But like, for example, I'm working right now with two Black women, and we all have our own businesses. We all have our own consultancy. But we decided that during this pandemic, we were going to come together and support each other and work on projects together so that we can all eat. We are competition to each other on paper, but just because that's the case doesn't mean that we can't find ways to work with each other and still see growth happen for all of us at the same time. And I think that's a perspective that more people in the Black community need to have. Like, if you can, and there's a whole thing in marketing, it's like you find complementary businesses. So if anything, that's how, if you feel like, if the person is in the same field or they're doing the same thing, okay, maybe that's not the right person to pair up with. But if there's somebody that's complementary, meaning they're not doing the same exact thing you are, then it's a great opportunity to have somebody that between the two of you can refer business to each other so that you both grow. And that perspective is like, I don't think enough people are taking the opportunity to find referral partners. And that's another thing that people don't use too often, as they probably should, that goes underutilized in marketing, is referral programs, like creating your own referral program and say like, okay, so for me, if doing marketing, that who are the people in my ecosystem or in a business's ecosystem that could refer business to me? You have your lawyers, you have your accountants, you have all these individuals who deal with a small business owner. But there are so many people that they don't think to themselves, like when they see somebody that has a complementary business, hey, maybe I should reach out to them, have a one-on-one with them and find out like, how can we help each other? How can we stay top of mind? I had 2 calls today with people that had complementary businesses, and they set up calls just to do 1 hour one-on-ones to just talk it out, talk through things, get to know each other better. And you have to take the opportunity, not just to say, hey, can you refer somebody to me, but to build that actual relationship. It's that relationship building. And I think that will cut down on the whole, like, oh, you're my competitor versus, oh, you're actually another cool person, cool sister, cool brother that I can talk to about more than even just marketing, or talk to more than about my business, but talk about other things in life. And it's those little things that, like one day I was talking to a mom today, and she was like, and I was talking to her about, virtual lessons and parents having to go through the virtual lesson plans and how they want to do virtual summer camp. And she's like, oh, no. She's like, parents are trying to send their children away.
That is real. That's real.
But it's having those moments of like, to laugh together, to realize that that person is more than just another business owner, but they're another person that can actually be part of your network.
I love that. I love that. Well, Vanessa, it has been such a joy and a pleasure to talk to you today. I have learned so much, so many things that I thought I knew, even as a layperson, right, and not a marketer. I am really grateful for this sort of aha moment as an entrepreneur, as someone who's always trying new things. I think that the people who watch this show and who are interested in being better, in doing better, in trying new things to advance will really have gotten so much out of our conversation today. So thank you again. And as things evolve for you, when something cool comes up for you, I would love to have you come back on the show.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you.
Celebrate together.
Yeah, as we all should. I think that's the thing. Like, we need to celebrate each other's wins and genuinely do so, and not from a place of like, oh, thanks, she's great, she's doing well, but really celebrate it and go like, no, like, you did a great job. Like, continue to do what you're doing. How can I support you? How can I help you out? And that, when you're a business owner, it's hard sometimes because you're so much in your own thing that you don't think of like. But that's what we really do need to be doing more of. It's like, oh, you're doing something, I'm doing something. How can we just like cross promote? Like, cross promotion is another one that people don't utilize. Like,
I love that these things are just like bouncing. Pew, pew, pew.
I forgot to tell somebody today. I was like, I definitely plan on writing to my family members and going, hey guys, you saw my social media post. Can you just post that on your channel things? And they're like,
yeah. And not being afraid to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vanessa, thank you again. And I can't wait to talk to you some more. Have a wonderful evening, daytime, whatever time it is where you are. But thank you again for coming on.
You're welcome.
Until next time.
Wants to find me.
Let's do that. Wait. Stop. Let's do that properly. We will fix that in post. Hold on. Okay, you ready? Ready.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Vanessa, how can people find you if they need marketing support?
If you need marketing support, you can find me at brazenmarketer.com. I'm also a Brazen Marketer on every social media, well, the main social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can write to me at vanessa@brazenmarketer.com. I'm just all Brazen Marketer all day.
all day. And we'll be sure to link your contact information in the description bar below. So again, with that, I'll talk to you next time.